welcome to EU-AfricaMI, a podcast by Mondo Internazionale as part of the Africa-European Foundation States of Africa-European Report Grant. Over the next 4 episodes, we will explore the global dynamics shaping our present and future, from superpower relations to regional conflicts, and from global economic challenges to new strategic alliances. We will also discuss how technology, a constantly evolving dynamic which, are integral to global challenges from drones to cybersecurity to artificial intelligence. Geopolitics is not just about borders and states, but an intricate web of economic, social, and cultural interests that affects the lives of billions of people. Together, we will analyze current events, interview experts, and take an in-depth look at the trends that are defining the world. The final episode of this series will be devoted to presenting and discussing the report conducted by our analysts. Today we feature Michele Pavan, President of Mondo Internazionale, Catherine Ray, Vice President of Mondo Internazionale, and Chiara Merli, Junior Research for Geopolitical Area, who will speak with Alex. In the last 4 years, the world has undergone rapid changes, particularly at the security level. One of the most shocking events was certainly the pandemic, which challenged the global health response mechanism, which led to many restrictions in Europe, but certainly also in some African states. Beyond the pandemic, a longer and more delicate process is certainly what Western literature called the Arab Spring. Processes that have brought some countries in particular into international crosshairs, and to which much attention has been given because of the security repercussions that these have had on Europe.
During the pandemic crisis, there has been improved cross-border collaboration in Europe to contain the virus. And how has the pandemic experience affected crisis prevention in the realm of public health in your country? And have institutions improved their ability to communicate improvements for the health system to the population?
It's quite an honor to be on this call. I just want to add my view to the question asked. I think the pandemic underscored the frailties of our global health systems, yet it also fostered unparalleled collaboration, especially in cross-border prevention and communication in Europe. In Africa, the impact was twofold. On one hand, we witnessed a deepening of inequalities in healthcare access. On the other, there was an acceleration in innovation, with several countries adopting digital tools to disseminate public health information and ensure supply chain continuity for critical medical resources. However, the question arises, have institutions improved in their communication? In a broad sense, yes, in Nigeria. For instance, efforts such as the NCDC's strategic responses enabled more coherent communication between government and citizens during health emergencies. Early warning systems, though nascent compared to Europe, are taking shape. But they still require the institutional depth that Europe boasts. So there's much Africa can learn from the European early warning and response system, specifically in bridging communication gaps between federal and provincial authorities.
In relation to SDGs 10, reducing inequalities, has there been an improvement in access to health care post-pandemic? And if so, has there been any policy to reform or relevant social initiatives?
Well, I think in line with that question, there have been notable efforts to broaden access to healthcare in Nigeria and across Africa. However, the reforms are piecemeal and uneven. Some regions have benefited from NGO-driven initiatives aimed at improving maternal and child health services, yet significant barriers remain, especially in rural areas where healthcare infrastructure is still lagging. For lasting change, targeted policy reform must focus on universal health coverage, adopting systems akin to Europe's mixed insurance models could offer a sustainable framework, particularly when public and private sectors collaborate effectively.
SDGs talk about decent work and economic growth. In fact, the United Nations explained that decent work means opportunities for everyone to get work that is productive and delivers a fair income, security in the workplace, and social protection for families, better prospect for personal development and social integration. How well are these standards being met? Particularly in youth work, how are the job opportunities for young people? Do they feel included in the economic development of society?
The youth population in Africa is both a blessing and a challenge. With over 60% of the continent's population being under the age of 25, youth unemployment is an urgent concern. In Nigeria, youth unemployment hovers around 42%. That's a staggering figure that underscores the need for systemic interventions. The key question, how do we provide decent work? Opportunities for young people are still largely informal, and without structured programs for skill development, the promise of decent work remains elusive. Policies inspired by the EU Stability and Growth Pact could stabilize economies like Nigeria's, but there must be a strong focus on creating a job market that nurtures innovation and entrepreneurship. Local initiatives such as tech hubs and startup ecosystems are providing glimmers of hope, but they need to be backed by policy frameworks that ensure fair wages and social protection.
In Europe, the Stability and Growth Pact somewhat dictates the performance of European states within economic issues. What policies for economic stabilization have your countries implemented?
Well, the environmental challenges in Africa are vast, and climate change threatens the very livelihoods of millions. In Nigeria, for instance, we face desertification in the north, flooding in the central regions, and coastal erosion in the south. Reconciling economic development with environmental protection is complex but not impossible. We must transition towards green economies where investments in renewable energy and sustainable agricultural practices take precedence. Europe's efforts with its Green Deal offer a roadmap for Africa through adaptation, though I think that adaptation must be localized, recognizing the unique ecological and socioeconomic context of each country.
In Europe, particularly in some countries, objectively they have below average policies for freedom of expression, and especially for access to information. This has repercussions particularly on young people, but also in general on the population who do not receive adequate information. And this thus creates niches of thought that do not see a contrary to the topic taken in question. So how does your country try to combat this phenomenon, and how has progress been made in improving communication and the communication security aspect in this regard?
Okay, thank you. About security and freedom of expression, I think security has become an ever-pressing issue since post-pandemic, particularly in Africa. Nigeria has grappled with increased insurgencies in the northeast, banditry in the northwest, and secessionist tensions persist in the southeast. From a security standpoint, the government has been increasing its capabilities, though the road ahead remains steep. The African Union's Silencing the Guns initiative is a continental effort, and to mitigate conflicts, but it must be reinforced with deeper international collaborations. Regarding freedom of expression, African governments often walk a tightrope. While platforms for discourse have widened, especially through social media, there is a growing trend of censorship. The Nigerian government's temporary ban on Twitter in 2021 is a case in point for us to look into. But in contrast, European models of balancing free speech with responsibility could offer lessons, though they must be applied with caution, ensuring they respect the cultural contexts and political nuances of African nations.
As we have said, we are experiencing a precarious period in terms of global and internal security. How does your country see the future of youth and younger generation in creating more peaceful international framework? Is there confidence in them, and how involved are they in the diplomatic or peacekeeping action?
So the role of youth in diplomatic and peacekeeping actions are, I think Africa's youth are its greatest asset when it comes to peace building. Across the continent, young people have led movements advocating for better government, better governance, and accountability. The NSAS movement in Nigeria is one such example, highlighting the potential of youth in shaping more peaceful and inclusive societies. There is confidence in the younger generation, but more needs to be done to integrate them into formal diplomatic channels and peacekeeping roles. Institutions such as the African Union should create more structured pathways for youth participation in continental security frameworks.
Looking to the future, what joint strategies or collaboration between your countries and the European Union could be developed to strengthen crisis prevention in the areas of healthcare, security, and economy, while also promoting the Sustainable Development Goals and fostering greater global resilience?
All right. I think there's a lot in this part of the question, especially as the world grapples with increasingly complex crises in healthcare, security, and the economy. Partnerships between nations and regions are becoming more critical than ever. I mean, looking at, for example, Nigeria, Cote d'Ivoire, some countries cut across West Africa, and the European Union, a collaborative approach that aligns with the Sustainable Development Goals offers a powerful strategy to not only prevent crisis, but also build a resilient future. By leveraging innovation, technology, and shared expertise, we can forge a path forward that strengthens these key areas while fostering sustainable growth and global stability. In healthcare, I think collaborative innovations for crisis prevention during the COVID-19 pandemic, the world was exposed significant gaps in global healthcare systems, making it evident that no country can stand alone in times of health crisis. To address these vulnerabilities, Nigeria and other countries within South Africa, in collaboration with EU, must prioritize healthcare innovation and infrastructure development. This can be achieved through cross-border research collaborations, where you have joint research programs that focuses on infectious diseases, public health, and vaccine development. All of this can drive significant advancements. Establishing healthcare innovation hubs where knowledge exchange between African and European scientists thrives. And I think that will lead to more effective preventive measures. We need to do telemedicine and digital health solutions, expanding telemedicine platforms and digital health services will enable both urban and rural populations to access healthcare swiftly. The Global Innovation Alliance, GIA, can play a crucial role in facilitating these sorts of digital health solutions by connecting healthcare startups and tech innovators from both continents. Training and capacity building initiatives too is something we need to add into that. I think countries in West Africa or cut across Africa can collaborate with EU to establish healthcare training centers, equipping local healthcare workers with advanced skills and technologies. These partnerships will also ensure that nations are better prepared to respond to will help them to better respond to future health emergencies by combining Africa's growing tech landscape with Europe's advanced medical knowledge. This tri-continental partnership can create a more resilient healthcare system. On security, I think building a stronger and global regional resilience will be the key. In today's interconnected world, security threats ranging from terrorism and cybercrime to political instability transcend borders. A shared approach between Nigeria and other countries around West Africa and the EU can address these challenges while promoting regional stability. Joint security frameworks and intelligence sharing, I think that's a key focus that should be enhanced very well in terms of intelligence sharing mechanisms between West Africa and Europe. This can be achieved by establishing a real-time cross-border security network powered by AI and data analytics with the help of the Global Innovation Alliance, which brings in top cybersecurity experts from both regions. I think we also can strengthen local security forces, partnering with the EU to provide training and technology to local security forces in Nigeria and other countries like Cote d'Ivoire, other ones around West Africa. All of this can improve their ability to address terrorism, insurgencies, and organized crime. Such collaborations can also boost capacity building in the area of border security and anti-trafficking measures. In the areas of climate and environmental security, I think climate change is increasingly being recognized as a security threat. By focusing on sustainable land management and disaster preparedness, this partnership can mitigate climate-related risks that contribute to displacement, conflict, and food insecurity. The EU can support West African countries with funding and expertise in developing climate-resilient policies that prevent environmental crises from escalating into risks. Another part is economy, boosting the economic resilience through innovation and trade. A resilient economy is a cornerstone of crisis prevention. Nigeria, Cote d'Ivoire, and the EU can work together to build strong, diversified economies that are less vulnerable to external shocks, whether they come in the form of pandemics, political instability, or market disruptions. Trade agreements and economic partnerships, strengthening economic ties between West Africa and Europe is critical. What we are doing with the African Continental Free Trade Area can serve as a conduit for creating stronger trade relations with the EU, fostering economic resilience across both continents, promoting exports from Nigeria across other West African countries to Europe and vice versa will enhance economic interdependence and cushion economies from external shocks. Tech-driven economic growth, these are very important things. The EU's expertise in green technology and sustainable energy can be leveraged to support Nigeria and other countries of West Africa, especially Cote d'Ivoire, renewable energy projects, creating jobs and fostering sustainable development. And I think Global Innovation Alliance can act as a bridge, connecting African and European entrepreneurs, investors, and tech experts to accelerate innovation in critical sectors such as agriculture, fintech, and energy. And then we also need to look at inclusive financial systems. The EU can collaborate with African nations to promote financial inclusion through digital banking and fintech solutions for crisis prevention. These hubs, I believe, would focus on areas such as healthcare innovation, security technologies, and sustainable economic growth. And then the global talent exchange. Through talent exchange programs, Global Innovation Alliance can promote cross-border learning and skill sharing between countries in West Africa and Europe, and thereby driving innovation in areas such as AI, cybersecurity, and clean energy. Investment in sustainable tech. The Global Innovation Alliance can also channel investment into sustainable technologies, particularly in sectors that contribute directly to crisis prevention, such as renewable energy, water management, and food security. The road ahead for me is that aligning with the SDGs and building resilience, by collaborating across healthcare, security, and economic sectors, Nigeria and other countries in West Africa and the EU can not only strengthen crisis prevention, but also contribute meaningfully to the Sustainable Development Goals. These partnerships will drive progress in areas such as good health and well-being, which is the SDG 3, peace, justice, and strong institutions in SDG 16, and decent work and economic growth, which is the SDG 8. Together with the support of initiatives like the Global Innovation Alliance, this tricontinental alliance can set precedent for how global regions collaborate to build resilience in the face of future crises by leveraging innovation, fostering inclusive growth, and sharing expertise. I believe participating countries in Africa, especially Nigeria, Cote d'Ivoire, other countries, well-meaning countries, West Africa, and the EU, can create a more secure, sustainable, and resilient global future.
Thank you for following us, and see you on the next episode.